with Pure Water in association with Unger. Please let us know if you can see and hear all of us. If any one person can just message on the chat box. Great. So welcome everybody to our session on cleaning with pure water. We've chosen a very niche topic for our webinar this time. It's something that's quite interesting, and we're in a world where chemicals are probably one of the most popularly used cleaning materials, and the idea of actually using none and still getting the desired result that you want is pretty inconceivable. But over time, we've realized and we've understood that with pure water, the results have been pretty promising. So today's session is going to be touching upon the basics of pure water. We're going to talk about its pros and cons, its techniques in getting the most effective results. And to discuss this, we have with us two expert speakers. First, we have Brian Nielsen. He is the sales manager responsible for the export business at Unger, Germany. With a hands-on approach, he helps implement sales and go-to-market strategies for Unger in cooperation with partners and distributors with a proven record of positive results. We also have with us Minar Aliar. He's the executive housekeeper at Grand Mercure and Ibis Styles Dubai Airport. Minar has over 18 years of experience in hospitality, out of which more than 10 years has been in managing housekeeping and laundry operations. He's also worked with several international hotel brands where he's been exposed in several sections in hotel operations. Thank you so much for being part of our panel today, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So we'll just start. We'll just start. I'm opening this question to both of you. We'll start with the first question, which is the most basic. Tell us about the concept of pure water. Help us understand what exactly pure water is.
Yeah, maybe I should start.
Sure.
Pure water is basically the idea of cleaning without chemicals. It's water in its purest forms. Every ion and minerals, calcium has been removed from the water, and therefore you can clean without chemicals. And it's been, in a sense, destabilized the water. So when you use it, it attracts all the ions and the minerals in the dirt that may be on the surface you are cleaning. And that's the general idea of pure water.
Okay. Minar, would you like to add to this?
Yes. Actually, when it comes to pure water here in Dubai, in the Middle East, the source of water is, we don't have any kind of spring water, river, or rain. The water is actually from the ocean, which is filtered. It comes from the local authority, which is named as the DIWA, the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority. They do a certain level of filtration for this water, and then it is given to the properties whichever are using them. Then it is upon the property itself to further filter it or treat the water to, or should I use the term soft water, because this is something which we use very commonly here between housekeeping and engineering terms. And then it is dispersed to the necessary outlets, for example, in the restaurants for coffee machines, or in the laundry for pressing, steaming, and different areas. So basically, this is our concept over here when it comes to water.
So then, from what I understand in terms of what Brian said, once you have the water that you already, like in Dubai or in the Middle East in general, the water that comes to you, you then have an option to soften it. Once you soften it, do you, Brian, if you can just explain this to us as well, do you then purify it further to remove any source of iron and ions and minerals to then create pure cleaning water?
Yeah, exactly. You can have depending on the area, you can have very hard water or very soft water, as mentioned. And even with soft water, you need to purify it. You need to remove everything, all the ions, all the minerals, and otherwise you will see the residue of the minerals and the calcium on the surface you're cleaning, and especially on glass when it dries. This is the advantage here. You don't need to dry it afterwards. There would be no evidence after it dries because everything has been purified.
Okay. So what are the applications of pure water? Like where can it be used in terms of the cleaning industry in specific?
Yeah, I would say, of course, for window cleaning is very popular and a growing market everywhere. The idea you can clean without chemicals, and you can also clean faster in the sense you don't need to dry the glass after. You have one job. You have a water-fed pole and a brush at the end. You clean the glass with the pure water, and then you move on to your next window. You don't need to dry it with a squeegee or a cloth afterwards. You just leave the water on the surface, and when it dries, there will be no residue left. So it is time saving, and also is safer in terms you can clean from the ground up. Other application can be signage. Can be any kind of almost any kind of facade. It can be even used for car washing. It is already being used, pure water, in many places in car washing. The last water comes out before they rinse the car should be with pure water. So it has many possibilities.
Okay. Minar, if you can just highlight what you use pure water for in housekeeping operations across, any kind of operation.
One point which I would like to mention over here is when we, as it's just a little bit connected with the previous point which I mentioned, when we obtain water in as a commercially in our property, water is stored into large tanks, 60,000 or even more liters of water, gallons are stored in the tanks. Now, what happens is that when it is stored for a long time, then there's definitely a process of filtration that is required. It's supposed to be passing through multimedia filters, and then later on it goes to the necessary outlets. So when it comes to pure water, or if I would term it like, because over here we do usually say like soft water, but pure water is something different to soft water. Pure water is of course used in, as Brian mentioned, in cleaning of window facades, glasses. It has a good effect on cleaning of glasses. One very important point also which you have touched over there is that it reduces the time that is actually consumed in, say, for example, when we had to use regular water and chemicals, the process, it requires more of time, say, for example, to scrub and then to wipe and then to clean again. But if it's pure water, then it does not really require that, just a certain level of abrasion and then it should be fine. We do not have that process here in my property, but also pure water is used in the laundry as well. Again, there is a certain level of filtration system. There has actually been a case study on this in Sweden, I guess almost 3 to 4 years back, wherein they mentioned that pure water can be used for in the laundry as well, with additional filtration, and it reduces the chemical usage, and temperature is also really not a factor for cleaning. So these are the basic major two areas where pure water is used for cleaning.
Okay, great. Brian, any comments on this in terms of using it in the laundry as well? I think this is quite an interesting application. Is this something that you've come across?
Yeah, I would say it's not something I personally have a lot of. I've come across now. For mostly for our sake, or for my sake, is used for window cleaning. And one thing I also want to mention is solar cleaning. Is very important. It's very effective also to clean solar panels. And
absolutely, because then it doesn't allow any mineralization to happen on your solar panels.
Yeah, but if it can be used in for laundry as well, I would have to come back to you with some further details on that. I don't have
Sure, no problem. So, how is this water purified? What kind of techniques are used to purify the water? Can it be done at source, or does it have to be done somewhere else to get it back, and then get it back to your facility? Brian, if you could just highlight this for us.
Yeah, for us, we have two possibilities. We have a DI unit and we have RO unit. RO unit is reverse osmosis. And the way it works is you have a source of water from the tap, most likely, and you connect this with a normal hose to the DI unit. And in a DI unit, you have what's called a resin filter. A resin filter is basically small plastic beads which filters the water, and when it comes out the other end, it's pure water. And the way we measure this is we have a TDS meter on the unit, which measures in ppm, parts per million. And when this shows below 10, then you have, it should be reading 0, of course, but as the filters gets more and more used, you will see the number climbing. And when you reach 10 parts per million, then you need to change your resin filters. This is one way. And another way is reverse osmosis. Here you have, this is more a 4-step solution. You have a pre-filter, you have 2 membranes, which purifies the water up to 98%. And at the end, you have a resin filter, which polish the water to 100% pure water.
What is the most preferable method by your clients? Hello, Brian?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but your screen is frozen.
No.
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
It depends on the area, it depends on the hardness of the water, and also it depends on the job, of course. If you have very hard water, then a reverse osmosis system is to be preferred. Otherwise, you would be changing resin filters too often, and the cost in that will not be, it would be preferable to use our units. So if you have an hard water here, I mean, you can have, we measure it also, we have a hard water is around 400 ppm, and soft water we say is around 100 ppm. So if you have soft water, you can use DI units, which also is a cheaper way to start, but will have higher running costs. And the RO unit is a bigger investment, but will have low running cost. So this is the difference.
Okay.
So it depends on the area and the job at hand.
So when you're talking about hard water, from whatever we've learned living in Dubai, we still know that the kind of water that comes to us is not purely soft water. So are you seeing that clients in the Middle East, and Minar, you can also add on to this, in terms of your colleagues or your experiences in the past hotels you've worked with, are you seeing that clients still need to go with reverse osmosis because the water is still not as soft as expected?
If I would add to this point, then it depends actually on the purpose or the area where it is going to be used. If you are going to have, say for example, the level of softness that water should have for say in a laundry steam machine is something different to what will be required, say for example, in a coffee machine or in a restaurant. So this differentiation will be there definitely because it depends on the kind of purpose where and which area it is used. Definitely, okay. Definitely water needs to be further softened. And what happens in my experience, what I see is that some units, like say for example, the steam press unit has a special, filtering unit attached to it. And the water actually definitely goes through it, gets filtered, and then it comes out as a steam. Because here, as the water is being taken from the ocean, the hardness in the water is treated for it to become soft. So if the softness level is not there, then what happens is that there might be stains which come on the fabric. So that's the reason we need to have a certain level of water softening.
Okay. And what do you all do when it comes to window cleaning? I mean, what kind of water have you seen used in window cleaning or facade cleaning when it comes to the facade of your hotels?
Well, Dubai is the city famous for high-rise towers. So facade cleaning is something which is actually a challenge. In certain hotels, the task is handled by the engineering department, whereas in certain hotels, it's a combination between engineering and the housekeeping. My experience on part of it is that I have worked in properties wherein we had a cradle system of cleaning, as well as we had a system of the rope access. This
Ah,
particular property, yeah, this particular property where I'm working right now, we do not have a system of cradle, and we clean the windows using a rope access. And when that happens, then in that case, they take the entire necessary equipment that is actually required. In most cases, it's more like a bag which they put on their back, and it's more like a high pressure jet machine wherein they use the regular water and they spray it, and then of course the process is there of abrasion and then the wiping and cleaning further. If pure water would be used for this, then I actually need to understand, because how can this help in case if your building is a high rise and not a lower leveled building.
so let's ask Brian. So
Yeah.
Brian, tell us a little about the window cleaning and the facade cleaning aspect using pure water.
Yeah, what we see in tall high rises, tall buildings where you cannot reach from the ground up, you can reach around 20 meters. If that is not enough, what we have seen used elsewhere from our customers is they have, for example, an RO units fixed on the roof, connected with water. And then you still need to climb, you still need a lift, you need to go down the building, of course, but you have a pure water system fixed on the roof, and you can go down from the roof and still have the advantage of cleaning with pure water. You don't save the time, you don't need, as you mentioned, you don't need to dry the glass after, so you still will save a certain amount of time cleaning. And then you can reach what you can from the ground, and the rest you can do from the roof down. This is what we've seen done.
Yeah. So if I could also understand a little bit more into detail of that, is that is this kind of particular thing which you mentioned, which purifies the water, supposed to be installed in the water outlet on top of the building, and then it is dispensed down?
Yeah, you have some kind of water outlets on the roof, and then you have the machine. Just as well as you will use it on the ground, you can use it on the top of the roof. So instead of going up, you're just going down. So we see many installing our units on top of the roof and use it for the sole purpose of cleaning the facade down.
So what I know about, like I've researched about the topic, and I've seen it happening actually at ISSA, one of the previous editions, where you've actually had Unger guys cleaning the facade of the RAI arena, and they've used telescope poles, and I know Unger is very popular for these telescopic poles through which you inject the water and clean the facade, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
is it necessary to use these poles, or can it be used in other, kind of equipment as well, in terms of the pure water part of it?
You need some kind of you need a water fed pole, and this of course is part of our system. We have water fed poles. We have two different systems, and as I mentioned before, you can go up to 20 meters, and you have the hose connected to the DIRO unit. It goes you connect it to the pole and connected to the brush at the end of the pole, and then you can use the telescopic pole to go up as high as 20 meters.
Okay.
So the water will be fed through the brush at the end. So you're scrubbing and in the same instant as the water comes out. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
One particular advantage which I see by using Unger is that when it comes to facade and window cleaning here in Dubai, we usually have to rely on outsourced companies. The staffing are not basically the ones who are within your property, because there are certain requirements, as the permissions that is required, the cleaning permissions, the insurance, and the liability, certifications. There are many documentation process that is needed, which is the reason why most of the hotels or high-rise buildings or apartments, they prefer to give the cleaning to an outsourced company. But when it comes to Unger, I see that with this particular mechanism, we could even train our own staff who are working in the property to do this task.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
easily do that. That is what we are doing. That's also what I'm personally doing. I'm traveling to my customers, and we are doing these trainings with our partners and with the end users as well. So in the case of hotel, yes, we can train the hotel staff, the cleaning staff at the hotel also. Is definitely.
So this was a question that I was going to come way at the end of the webinar. But let's talk about training since we've already spoken about it. How do you train the operatives? How do you make them understand that when you're looking at cleaning as a task, as something that is important to be done, you do require to have chemicals. So this idea of doing away with the chemical is something that may be a little difficult to train people in. So how do cross that barrier?
Yeah, yeah, that is exactly that is something we have to get used to. Some markets are very developed. Other markets around the world are we are developing, and we are doing these trainings. So this means we are going on site with units and doing the training, so they can see the result and they can try it themselves. This is the way we do the training. This is on site and this is practical. And of course, there will be a demonstration, there will be an explanation of the actual process, how it works, as we're doing here. But they have to see the result. So we are going on site to show them the result that is actually possible to clean without chemicals.
And to what extent, have you found any kind of resistance from people in only using water? Because we do know, even even with this pandemic, we've realized that people have not really been cleaning the way that they've had to clean. We're talking about things that are the most basic tasks that have to be done. So do you see clients still using chemicals with the water to clean the facade or the window? Do you see all of this, and do you have to consistently educate them as well?
Yeah, of course we do see used normal window detergent chemicals on window. Cleaning the classic way is still also very possible, very popular way to clean, and it will always be here as well. This is another solution, and can definitely has its advantages in many places. So you can definitely do both, but I think what many professional window cleaners when they actually see how much time they save and also it's much safer for them. They can stand on the ground cleaning up to 20 meters. When they actually see and try and learn about it, then we also see that they will continue to use it.
It's a pretty sustainable way, actually. If you go to see, you're not only using not only not using chemicals that can impact health and safety, plus again you're talking about the height and not having to climb up so high, and at the same time you're reducing the impact on the environment as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's the impact of the environment as well, because we're only using water. There's nothing so-called dangerous coming out of the system. It's only water coming out. So it's
Correct. Absolutely.
good point. Yeah.
Minar, any comments on all of this? What are your
Yes,
thoughts or what are your opinions?
personally, I'm an environmentalist. It's also my hobby that I like to do things which are good for the environment. Somehow, it's also related with my profession in housekeeping. I always go for biodegradable products, and I always prefer a method which can reduce the use of chemical or harmful chemicals into the environment. I do understand that there are many companies. I have worked with some of the most prominent companies like Diversity Ecolab, and I know they have come out with ranges like eco-friendly or something which is green chemicals or something like that, which I would say. But at the end of the day, all of this is still washed and it goes into the drain. And unless and until it's not filtered, all of this chemical does go into the environment, either into the ocean or through the rivers or whatever. It does have some kind of impact on the environment. But if there is a method of using pure water to clean a particular area or surface, then definitely it is something which is very innovative, and it is definitely something which I would want to implement in the
Correct.
place
Absolutely.
that I would work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tell me one thing. I want to understand, this concept of pure water. Why did it become so popular in window cleaning, Brian? I mean, uh, streak-free. It's basically streak-free cleaning as well. You don't have any streaks on the glass. Can you tell me a little about the importance in window cleaning specifically?
Yeah, in window cleaning is of course, yeah, it's very important as you mentioned, and what we see, especially in Europe and in Germany, is that more and more window cleaners will be the preferable way to clean windows, for the reason I already mentioned about time saving, but and you can clean in one go. You don't need to dry, no streaks afterwards, no calcium spots, no mineral spots on the window. Um, you have a brush who does all the cleaning, so it's very important. So we see also it's taking bigger and bigger market share compared to the classic tools. The classic tools will still be needed for in some spaces, but the big facades, the big glass facades everywhere, is pure water. We see is the way to go.
Okay. I just want to remind the audience, if you have any questions, you please feel free to send it across on the chat box as well. We can ask the gentleman any questions that you all have. Okay, so we've pretty much established what pure water is. We've talked about how it is filtered. We've talked about, why it is better to use in cleaning, especially for windows and facades. And of course, we have the solution of having the water from top all the way down to the bottom. And I want to ask you this. You mentioned earlier, Brian, about, you can test the water to know if it is clean or not. Can you just elaborate a little more on that process?
You mean test the water if it's pure, if it's pure or what?
Yes, after filtering it, is it necessary to check if it's pure, number one? And if so, how do you do that?
Yeah, on the units, on most of the units, the DI and the smaller RO units, there's it's what we call a TDS meter on the unit, so you can follow the steps in the cleaning. You can see the water in the RO units. You can see what is the value coming in, and you can see what is the value coming out. So you can always keep an eye on it and know when to change the filter or the membrane. But otherwise, we have a small pocket size GDS meter, so you can test the water yourself also. Also, you also know how hard is your water at your source, and you can also check it, of course, the output.
Okay. Okay. So it's pretty simple in terms of.
It is pretty simple. You're following a number on the GDS meter, and it's measured in part per million. So. Higher than 10, then you need to change the filters. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We have a question from the audience. Mr. Hussain Khaja asks, can we consider battery water as a pure water since it too is without ions or minerals?
Yeah, this is, exactly. This is what we call, I forgot that, but yeah, it is in some sense a pure water, but it is what we're doing is taking everything out. I wouldn't of the water, including all the ions. The water is, you can say in a sense, is negatively charged. So it's when you use it on the facade, then you can say it acts like a magnet. It's attract all the dirt, it's attract the minerals and everything. So that is why it's so effective to clean with instead of using a chemical, because it's actually looking for the minerals to stabilize itself again. And you have this coming out with a pressure from the unit. So that's why it's so effective.
If I may
so,
as well.
Yes, Minal. Yeah.
If I may add to this, when you mentioned battery water,
Sorry, Minar, I'm sorry to interrupt. You're not clear. I can't hear you clearly. If you can be a little louder, please.
If I'm audible now, if I may mention that battery water actually is basically used for the purpose of the function in a battery itself. Now, water is a combination of hydrogen and oxygen, so it breaks down, and I'm not really a technical expert for to identify what exactly battery water does in the process of the alkaline, but it is somewhat similar to what we say is distilled water and pure water.
Yeah.
So distilled water is something which is totally different to pure water. And pure water, as I understand, is more for the purpose that this has been identified and introduced into housekeeping operation to reduce the time that someone would consume in cleaning particularly a glass. But if it was battery water, for example, it might not really serve the purpose of that task, which is actually reducing the time frame of doing the job. So correct me if I'm wrong, Brian.
No, you're absolutely right. Distilled water is the word I was looking for before. You are. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're pretty much the same. I'm sorry, I'm confused. They're pretty battery water and pure water is pretty much the same.
Yeah,
Basically
well,
not. Basically not, because battery water is more, as I told you, it works in the function of distributing the hydrogen and oxygen. I'm not actually a technical expert for battery water, so I would not be able to, exactly define what is the purpose of that. But pure water is not battery water. This can be mentioned, because the purpose of having pure water is where it is used. For example, as I told you, soft water, where exactly it is used. Pure water, where is it used? So it's used for the purpose of window cleaning. So to reduce the time that you would spend in cleaning. So we are actually looking at this aspect.
Okay, okay. Okay. We have another question. Ms. Muzammal Shah says, okay, I don't. Okay, so he says, I'm using a pure water system for some time, and I've found it very effective in internal area glass in internal areas, but sometimes it leaves water drop stains on external areas. Is there a way to explain why this could be possible? Maybe the water is not purified enough.
yeah, it could be a sign of the, I don't know which system he's using, but if it's a DI unit, it could be a sign of the resin bags needs to be changed, maybe, because if, as I mentioned before, if the number is too high, then you will start to see the mineral spots and the calcium spots on the glass afterwards. If it's an RO unit, then you change the membranes. So it could be a sign of you need to change the resin bags or the membranes in your system. So measure the output. What do you have of output? What kind of what is the TDS number? What is the part per millions number you have at the output? And then you can see if that's the reason. But it sounds like it.
Yeah, I just actually have. I actually wanted to understand clearly what Mr. Muzammil is trying to ask. That there is a stain in the external area. So what exactly is this external area comprising of? Because when we mention about facade cleaning and when we mention about building wash, it is different to glass cleaning. Now, when it is facade cleaning, then it is actually the metal. Now, on metal, the water stains are not really very visible because building wash is different to say, for example, glass cleaning. So I would like to understand where does it actually leave a stain. I mean, it also depends on the kind of surface. If it's concrete, then water will not leave stain on a concrete surface. If the surface is a metal facade, then I do not really see that it leaves any kind of stain on that surface.
Yeah, I agree. That's the only reason for me is if the filters need to be changed.
In fact, uh, P. Van de
Yeah,
Graaf says
yeah,
is exactly saying what I was going to ask. Maybe if the water has not dried quickly enough, it could also be dirt or sand from the air that gets into it before the water dries up. So
yeah.
it can possibly also leave a stain on the surface,
Yeah, of
right?
course. Yeah, of course. Also, if you have not been, if you it looks clean, you have, and especially the first times, first 1 or 2 times you clean with a pure water system on a surface, which in many cases have been cleaned with some kind of chemicals the last many years, maybe. Then the chemicals will build up in the glass. So you need maybe to clean 2 or 3 times before you see the perfect result, because the glass is like there's small hills in the glass. So the chemicals can build up in the glass, and you really need to rinse it thoroughly. And that maybe takes more than 1 time if it's the first time you use a pure water system.
Okay, that's an interesting observation as well. So Muzammal says that the stain is on the glass, not on the facade, and that they used to change the pad frequently to avoid stains, but they still find stains. So yeah, Muzammal, maybe you can check out whether you used to use chemicals before and that's still coming up, or whether it's a dusty environment when your team is cleaning the facade.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying it's working internally and not externally, it could potentially be the dust in the air.
Could be, yeah, correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Tell me a little about how you maintain these water-fed poles, Brian. I mean, is there some specific way to maintain them to keep them clean so that the water that goes in continuously is pure?
Yeah, well, the water doesn't go in through the pole itself; it goes into a hose. So there's a hose connected to the pole. So the pole is made from different materials depending on how high and you want to go, and so it's the hose you have to. But the hose of course needs to be only used for this purpose. After the purifications, then you should have no problem.
Okay. We have another question from Mr. Khaja where he asks, do you consider steam as pure water? How would glass cleaning results be different between steam and pure water?
Yeah, I have to. We are not using. We don't have any kind of units using steam, so I have to say I'm not an expert on cleaning with steam. I know our systems, and I know the way to clean with pure water and the advantages. But in between steam and pure water, maybe Minar can have some more experience at his results.
Yeah, we actually do use steam for disinfecting a surface. Steam at a particular temperature, let's say, for example, steam at 8 bars.
Minar, your voice is still not clear. If you can be a little louder, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we do use steam for disinfecting surfaces. For example, steam at a particular temperature, which is like around 170 degrees, can actually, disinfect a surface which could have been possibly exposed to any kind of bacteria or virus. Now, steam is also of 2 forms, because there are equipments that provide you either with dry steam or wet steam. Wet steam, of course, is used for cleaning of, say, grouts or sometimes kitchen cleaning with high pressure. But whereas the dry steam can be used for the purpose of disinfection. I use dry steam here in my property to disinfect surface in the room, because before we actually inspect a room to a guest, before it is for an arrival for any kind of guest, we do disinfect the surface using steam, which is dry steam. This dry steam can actually be used even on the fabric. It does not make it wet. I do have some of the videos of it on my profile on LinkedIn, but that is actually different from pure water cleaning. Pure water is again, the purpose of pure water cleaning is more
it's not disinfection.
It's like which area it is used, whereas steam is a totally different purpose of cleaning.
If I may, sorry, please continue. I'm sorry.
I have to actually ask Brian as well if because steam can disinfect. Pure water, does it disinfect? Now that's a question which always comes up in my mind, especially now that we are in the times of COVID-19. So
no, it does not disinfect. It's you can use this to clean before disinfection. So the surface is clean, and then you disinfect. We have. There's some will clean and disinfect in one go, and some will clean first and then disinfect. So no, it's 2 different things. Yeah.
If I may just answer Mr. Khaja's question, I would. I don't think you can consider steam as pure water you may consider it as something that probably has no bacteria or virus in it because of the high temperature. But when we're talking about pure water, we're talking about the minerals and the ions that exist in the water. And if I'm not wrong, and if my high school chemistry serves me right, I think if your water is already has those minerals, it is going to come out in the steam. So if you're going to steam a glass surface with regular water, you are going to get stains on it irrespective. But if you use pure water and use it as steam, then probably not. In fact, can you use pure water as steam? Have you seen any applications of it as well, Brian?
Not from our side.
Okay.
No, not. We don't have any applications. We don't have. We don't have any equipment to make it into steam.
Okay. We're almost at the end of our discussion. I have one last question, and that is about the acceptance that people have of this concept of pure water, the one that we're talking about today, in the Middle East region, or even if you want to go a little more hyperlocal and then say the Gulf region or the UAE. What kind of acceptance have you seen from people?
Well, we do see acceptance, and we have sold this different systems we have for some years now in the Middle East. So we do see acceptance, but it's definitely still a developing market. It is a place we are focusing more on to be able to do more training and do some more education about pure water. But we do have distributors across the Middle East, and they are selling the system for us. So it's definitely being used already and have been used for some years, but it's a growing market.
One question on part of a housekeeper who I'm sure I'm talking on
Minar,
behalf
if you don't mind, sorry, you need to be a little
yeah,
louder.
my voice. I'm sorry. I think that is always in the beginning. It's an issue. So on part of the housekeeping, I mean, for commercial housekeeping, I'm sure every housekeeper has the kind of question that will pure water be used for cleaning high-rise towers? So that actually you have answered very well, Brian. So if it was, I mean, it's known that it can be used as well in a water outlet which comes from the top of a high-rise tower, then definitely people will look into it. But otherwise, there is always two aspects: whether it is used for commercial purposes, for cleaning of high-rise buildings, or whether it is used for like houses, private use, domestic use.
Oh.
So there is two ways that we can look into it.
Yeah, and it is being used both places, both as in the high rises and a lot of smaller professional window cleaners. Even we see also consumers buying these systems to clean their own house.
Absolutely.
So it's being used both places and can use both places.
Especially if you're looking at the Jumeirah village kind of properties where you're having these big bungalows, and you do want a clear view of, say, your garden, or if there's a lake in front, if there's a swimming pool, and just having pure water to clean your your window or your French doors or whatever. I think that just offers you a better experience throughout. And I think that's also what high-rise buildings and hotels, commercial buildings would want. I mean, as a housekeeper, I'm sure, Minal, when you're looking at offering your guests the best experience, if you have a if you have a hotel that has a wonderful view, but if you have stains on your windows, or if you're going to take that much time to clean that facade, it's not going to be beneficial for a hotel in the long run. People are not
Of
going to be
course,
able to get the view that
of course, yes.
they want. Yeah,
Yes, of course, because view sells. Definitely, I
absolutely.
mean, I have worked in properties wherein we sell rooms on higher floors for a better view.
Yeah.
So
So yeah.
yes, this is something which is very important as well.
Correct. Tell me one thing, Brian. It's just occurred to me how number one is when you're talking about saving labor, saving costs, saving chemicals, and saving time in using pure water as a cleaning medium for windows and facades in general. Um, how much time, or in terms of the operations or in terms of the procedure, how much better is it than facade cleaning using the proper cradle and rope access and the chemicals and everything? In terms of if you're doing it once a month, can we do window cleaning with pure water, say thrice a month? I'm asking in that aspect.
You mean if you do normal, let me understand correctly, if you're cleaning with classic tools or
Yeah.
compared to pure water, if you need to clean more or less? Is that the question?
If you need to clean more, no, if you can clean more often with pure water than you do with, a traditional method.
Yeah, I think you can, of course. I think it's very different how often people clean their, especially the glass facades. So I would say it also depends on the location. Some places have high air pollution, and maybe close to the water, close to the sea, close to an airport. So it needs to be cleaned more often. So I would say it's difficult to say exactly how many times you need to clean with pure water. It very much depends on the area and what are you cleaning. So you have to look at it and see how dirty it is, how often do you need it to be cleaned.
Okay. Okay, great.
But I would say it's definitely cost savings no matter what. But it's also a matter of training. So when you get more familiar with the system, you will also be able to do it faster. And like a general rule, I would say you can easily cut the cleaning time in half.
I
Right.
think
Yeah.
the method of cleaning windows with pure water will be very effective with properties which are close to the airport, as you mentioned very well, Brian. That the airport properties do have issues with window, especially because of the high level of pollution. My property is one example, because we are an airport property and we do have you know. Face this challenge when the window is actually dirty, because people would like to have a view. We do have a view when people can see the runway and can see the airport. So definitely the frequency of cleaning becomes of this
An
particular
issue.
window is important. Yes.
Yeah.
And if the system of Unger actually works, wherein water can be dispensed from the top of the tower, because also properties which are next to the airport are not high rise. They are low rise buildings, so
Yeah.
it will be much more easier.
Yeah, definitely. And that's this. Our systems is also used in the airports by the cleaning staff there. So we have it in Qatar Airport, for example. They have our trailers there. So it is being used within the airport by also.
Right, absolutely. Very, very important thing, when you're looking beyond just a lot of other things, looking beyond just the sustainability part. You're talking about visitor experience and guest experience overall, if you're talking about hotels in specific. Before we end, before I conclude, I just want to tell the audience that, guys, we have a link at the top here that says to know more about Unger's services. Click here. This link is going to take you to a YouTube link wherein you can actually see how you can use pure water to clean your windows and your facades. So please do go through it. It's a very, very interesting video. And if you'll want to know anything else about pure water, cleaning of pure water, of course you'll have free to directly get in touch with Brian or Minar. They're both available on LinkedIn and pretty active there as well. Or you can get in touch with us, since you all know us as well, and we can direct them to you. Any concluding, any parting words from both Brian and Minar on why pure water is an ideal solution for cleaning facades and windows?
Yeah, well, I think I pretty much covered it in terms of, but I also want to highlight the safety part. It's very important that you don't have to climb the ladders, so it's also a very important topic. We didn't talk a lot about, so because you can clean from the ground up, so it's also a very important aspect of the pure water cleaning.
So no ladders, no hanging from the facade, no breathing in maybe chemical fumes as well.
Exactly.
All of that. So and from a health and safety perspective, it is pretty much an ideal solution.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So Minar, have you now been converted into wanting to use pure water for your facades?
Yes, as I mentioned, of course, being an environmentalist, yes, I see definitely a lot of advantage by using pure water for cleaning windows. Three things that I actually would like to point out over here is number one, that of course, using this technology, it saves time, less work effort done just with a little bit of ablation and pure water, that it cleans means you can get the same cleaning surface. Number two is that chemicals are not used, so that's a very good advantage. Eco-friendly, environmental friendly. Every hotel wants to portray that it's a green hotel, and this can definitely be one point which adds to it. And number three is that, of course, properties which are high rise, irrelevant whether it's high rise or low rise, there's always an option which I got to learn as well today. If the dispensing can be done from top of the building, or if it's a low rise, then definitely we don't need to use ladders or something like that. So, and of course, since you are giving the training, this task can actually be done by our in-house team. If it's a low rise building, then definitely yes, why not?
It can, yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, gentlemen. This was a very interesting conversation. I'm sure all of us have learned a lot. I know I have. And we are done for the webinar today. Thank you everybody who attended it. Thank you so much to Unger for being part of this webinar, for sponsoring it, and for talking about this very, very important topic. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Minar.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you.
till our next webinar, we'll see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.